doing enormous amount of health education myself. I've gotten a lot of knowledge. Then I was introduced to this water 7.5 years ago, and I was very skeptical. And then I went on doing my own research. Took about 7 months before I bought my own machine. I was very skeptical. Coming from a corporate background, I couldn't believe that something like this exists and people would know about it on mass scale and so forth. It helped me dramatically. I've had enormous amount of health benefits. I can personally share my benefits, and maybe I'll make that a few statements during my presentation. But then I went on studying it deeper and deeper, and the water gave me enough curiosity and interest and empowerment to go into a holistic school, get my nutritional diploma, and then from there on I went to study naturopathic medicine and also orthomolecular medicine, which means studying the science of nutrition and how orthomolecular natural substances that are made by nature in nutraceutical dosages, in large dosages, can help and treat conditions that many medications cannot. So you have to understand there is science on a lot of natural substances, and all of them, as a matter of fact, you're just not made aware of it. Because as my good friend Wade would say, and he said in one of our seminars, is that the dealership, like a Toyota, will not tell you about Lexuses, and will not tell you about Lamborghinis and Maseratis and Porsches or Hyundais and so forth. They will just tell you for what they're selling. So when you go to a medical doctor and when they're only educated on drugs, surgery, and other treatments, that's the only thing they are going to tell you about. And they will scare you away from everything they've never studied, not because they don't want to or they mean bad, because they don't know any better. So it is in your hands to be a self-advocate and become a really well-educated individual, because nobody knows your body like you do. Would you agree? Yes. Yes. Nobody wakes up with you, nobody goes to the washroom with you, nobody puts everything you put in your mouth, nobody feels and hears what's going on in your health. So, disclaimer, we'll talk about health today, but I really want you to understand the statements and information provided here has not been evaluated, I have to say this, by Health Canada and FDA. So, there is more to health than what we'll discuss today. It's absolutely impossible for me to cover everything I have to share with you today in this one presentation, and each one of you is very unique. This is what's really important. Each one of you is very unique. Your situations are unique. So make sure that you consult with a health practitioner, whichever the one that really inspires you. Could be a medical doctor, a naturopathic doctor, in different types of orthomolecular doctors and nutritional therapists and so forth. So make sure that understand that this is for information and education purposes only. So let's move on to, why is water so important? In my practice, my nutritional practice, with attention to orthomolecular medicine, natural medicine, I always educate my clients on the importance of nutrition. What does it mean? That means that we want to talk about substances that the body is made from. I cannot heal the body by providing it foreign substances, synthetic, non-bioavailable substances that my body is not made from. It's like trying to build a house from substances that are not belonging to as a building blocks. So, and I always ask this question to a lot of my friends, or when I teach, I teach seminars, I was just like, how are we supposed to, I guess the question to you would be, if you're healthy and you're put on the medication, what do you think will happen?
You'll get sick.
You'll get sick. Why? Because with every medication comes a long list of side effects. And if you go to special medical sites, you will find that those will have pages and pages of side effects, not only what you see on the disclaimer on the box. Most people don't have access to a full research or don't know how to see it. So if any medication that's made from synthetic or non-bioavailable substances or is combined with, sometimes medications have natural substances, but they always have to add synthetic and other molecules, other substances that they can patent and create a specific formula so they can patent and charge you quite hefty amounts of money for a specific drug because they want to own that drug. So when you're given a medication and you have all of the side effects happening to a healthy body, how do we expect medications to help the body that is sick? So if the healthy body becomes sick after taking them, what happens to the sick body that takes on the medication? It might suppress some symptoms. It might do some, magic in terms of manipulating some of the outcomes and symptomology and pathology. But you will always have side effects. you will always have, or very often have, congestion of the liver and kidneys and other systems where the body cannot understand or properly discard the substance that doesn't belong in your body. Okay? So water, is that a natural substance? It makes 75% of our body. 75% of our body. So if I'm helping my friends, family, or my clients from nutrition and naturopathic perspective, and I want to give them natural substances for healing, to help the body heal itself, because that's how the body will do it, do you think that this will be an important element to introduce them to? And many people understand water and they maybe drink some water, but what they don't understand that not all water is made the same. So I can definitely give them, you know, other substances like different vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, but if I don't give them the largest substance that your body is made from, I'm not giving them enough value as a practitioner. I can give them something that makes up 2% of their body or 0.5% of the body, but if I don't give them the 75% of the body and help that substance deliver into the cell, or extract chemicals and pathogens and things that are not belonging in the cell out, I am not really doing my job. So every single client I get to see or every single person I get to help, I always educate on water first as a firing mechanism and as a delivery mechanism. And as a very strong antioxidant mechanism as well, which we'll discuss. So make sure that everybody that you know understand that it's not just drinking water, it's what kind of water you're drinking, and you'll see why. So we have a lot of available options to us on the market. Would you agree that we've all drank tap water at some point?
Yes.
We've all drank bottled water and all these other types of waters. So we have tap water, filtered water, spring water, reverse osmosis water, distilled water, alkaline water that comes from bottles or different filtration systems that add minerals or different chemicals to your water. Then we have ionized water. There's lots of machines today on the market that produce ionized water. They produce them by various methods. Some of them is through dissociation, some of that are also mineral composition and changes in filters, but we have ionized water. Then we have alkaline ionized water. The water that you're drinking today, and I hope you're going to be drinking a lot through the day, is an electrolyzed reduced water. This is the medical or scientific name, one of a few, that discusses ionized alkaline water that's made in the therapeutic form, valuable and strong enough in helping the body with multiple, chemical and physiological changes. So if you want to search this water on the PubMed or other journals, you don't search for alkaline or Kangen water, or you don't search for antioxidant water. You search for electrolyte reduced water, ERW water, electrolyzed oxidized water. There are multiple names that refer to it. So make sure that you do the right research and you look in the right places. What's the problem with the bottled water? Plastic, chemicals, so estrogen mimicking toxins that make it into our body every single day. Do we have a lot of hormonal dysfunctions today?
Yes.
Yes, we can argue that, and we can actually just do a seminar on that for 3 hours or 3 days in just talking about how our environment and pollution in our environment with all of these chemicals that do not belong in our body pollute our bodies and occupy the receptors in our body that's supposed to be there for proper minerals, phytonutrients, and vitamins and hormones, and instead they get fake synthetic substances and we start suffering. Thyroid, adrenals, all of our endocrine systems start suffering, our mental health starts suffering. We have a lot of issues that start compiling because of the synthetic chemicals that make it into our body. So bottled water is not only a problem for our health, it's a big problem for the environment. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, great. So reverse osmosis water. This is a good option if you want to do medical tests, if you want to have just H2O in its kind of pure form with a small TDC count, so total dissolved substances count, in where you can do multiple experiments. So it's okay, it's considered to be a water, pure water that can be used for medical research. This is not the water that is found in nature. Scientifically, a lot of doctors from Russia, doctors from Japan, Korea, they will call this doctor, they will term it a dead water because the water, once it filters through a special membrane. It takes up, it takes out all the heavy metals, it takes out all the chemicals, but it also takes out natural occurring minerals that help the water to properly move in the body, interact with the body, intracellular, extracellularly. So we do filter it fantastically. The problem is this water is inert. This water doesn't properly communicate with the body, and it actually, as a matter of fact, will be somewhat acidic and will actually steal minerals from your own intestinal tract, from your own tissues. And then, of course, tap water. Many people are consuming tap water. The problem with tap water is a very large number of chemicals that are allowed in a majority of all municipalities. And some waters are definitely better. In Canada, we're luckier with the kind of water we get from our municipality systems. A lot of places in the US, for example, the water is very, very contaminated because a lot of it is recycled. So when you recycle water, you get a lot of chemicals, drugs, and other, hormones and all those other things. Things that people are taking and flushing out will end up in your water, and they almost impossible to take out of the water. So it's important to understand that tap water has a lot of pollutants in it. It's important to cleanse that water, because if you don't take out those pollutants, they will, just like the chlorine, for example, it's fantastic at disinfecting water from viruses, pathogens, and bacteria. But if you drink that, what happens? You get that chlorine coming into your system, attacking your tissues, because that's a free radical. We'll talk about free radicals. It's something that starts attacking healthy tissues, and something that actually will cause deterioration or lowering of count of your microbiota, your bacteria. Your body has good and bad bacteria. You've all heard of probiotics. So the problem with water that carries into our body a lot of disinfectant agents is that it causes a lot of digestive disturbances. Do we have a lot of digestive disturbances today?
Yes.
Gastrointestinal health issues. So anything from stomach ulcers to interference with pH, is people inability to properly, interference with HCl, and so people's inability to properly digest food, all the acid reflux issues. Then, of course, we have a lot of small and large intestinal issues, and that is because gut or small intestine is when we have majority of our immune system. So if we're constantly bombarding our digestive system with chemicals that are neutralizing, killing, disinfecting our gut, we're killing good microbiota. We have 35,000 different species living in our intestinal tract, especially in the small intestine. So if we're constantly bombarding with disinfecting chemicals, we're destroying, denaturing that. Okay, so electrolytes reduced water, that is not a new science. This is not a new water that just became famous and popular and everybody jumped on the wagon. No, this has been around for a while. It started over 50 years ago in Soviet Union, and a lot of Russian scientists, the Soviet Union scientists, have done a lot of investigation with electrolysis and having water, dissociation of water. I've met one of the scientists who worked in Moscow with this technology when he was young. He's retired and lives here now with his daughter and wife. And I've met people that have followed that research. And at home, in the Russian magazines at that time, 30, 40 years ago, there was a lot of publications in health and engineering magazines about ionization, and there were people that built little ionizers in their backyards, and they would use this ionized water to treat eczema and all different things. So they understood and they worked with it, but they were afraid to drink it. Japanese are phenomenal. They always look for preventative medicine approaches and for incredible amount of research in orthomolecular naturopathic medicine. So what Japanese did, understanding that science, they actually were the best, and today are the leading designers and scientists and researchers in the field of water in working with technology like the one you're drinking from today. And this is where, but the science evolved for all of these years. The water that you're drinking today and the technology that is used today has evolved for 43 years, starting with being utilized in medical facilities, going down to home, home levels, to home use. So therapeutic water properties. I call it therapeutic water properties. What does that mean? Because any water, if you're in the desert, any water will probably save you and keep you alive. Being alive is one thing, thriving is another thing. Would you agree?
Yes.
So we've all been alive before we became familiar with this technology. Would you agree?
Yes.
were we less thriving than we are today?
Yes.
Right. So for the body to thrive, the body has to receive incredible amount of nutrients, phytonutrients, antioxidants to help us deal with everyday stressors. And so the phenomenal thing about the water that will provide therapeutic value, and this is, I'm not saying this just because it sounds really good, I'm saying this because it does have scientific backing. There is over, I think, 700 different research papers on hydrogen-rich water, ionized hydrogen-rich water, and on about 170 different physiological elements. So it discusses 170 different disease states from about 700 different papers. So which are possible, they're done. There's lots of compilations done by Korean scientists. There's lots of compilations done by a scientist from Japan and universities and so forth. So what makes this water, therapeutic water, regular from every regular water? So if we're thinking regular water, we're just thinking H2O, an ability to just hydrate on some minuscule level. When we have all of this qualities presented in your water, you having antioxidant, electrically alkaline, and the water that is restructured, that has an electrostatic charge, that water becomes very therapeutic for the body. So it goes beyond than just keeping you alive. It helps the body to heal itself.